Hi! This video in a way has been several years in the making. So I'm going to talk to you about EigenD, which is the software that drives the Eigenharp instruments. And many people assume that it has only been made for the Eigenharp. That is far from the truth, because EigenD was actually designed as a general purpose performance environment for people using computers to make music. The Eigenharp itself is just a plugin inside the entire environment, and the environment has been designed for high performance, high speed digital musical data that can be interconnected and allows you to be very flexible. Now, the nice thing about it is, and is also something that a lot of people don't know, is that it has been open source for a few years now, but the visual editors were not available unless you actually bought a license for it. And when we worked quite a lot on this, and finally this week Eigenlabs released the whole EigenD environment with the visual editors, with the customizable widgets. Everything has been released for free on the Eigenlabs website. So all you have to do is just sign up here. You can download EigenD through the software section. And so there is the latest release that dates from about 1.5 years ago, which is latest stable. But we also put up a new experimental 2.1 release, which contains all the improvements that have been going on behind the scenes for the last 2 years. And so if you're a developer, you can get on GitHub and you have all the branches available with all the code allowing you to contribute other agents, which are plugins, or even to customize the functionality of EigenD itself. So that being said, let's take a look at what I've set up here. So I've been using EigenD outside of my Eigenharp usage to play the electric guitar. I tried out Mainstage, I tried out Bidual for a long time, I tried out even Logic. They all had a whole bunch of aspects that didn't suit me. A lot of them were not stable enough, others had a very complicated way of sending across messages between the different plugins that are being part of your performance setup. Basic things like change the volume when a specific action happens. All these things were very difficult to do. And I realized that actually with EigenD this was very easy to get done. So what I have here is the EigenD software that has my guitar set up, and if I load it, it's going to load all the plugins that are part of this particular configuration. One thing you can already see, and this is something that I personally like a lot, is that the only thing you see here are the windows of my audio units that I'm using, and they are laid out exactly in the way that I want them to be laid out. So I've got my main amp and cabinet simulator here, S-Gear 2, then guitar rig for a bunch of tools like a tuner. I can see a visual representation of the metronome, but I'm using the actual metronome that's built into EigenD to get a sound. And I've got specific effects here that I use inside guitar rig. And before all that, my guitar signal is being sent through a compressor to get a little bit more glue between the guitar sounds, to even it out a little bit, just a little bit. And this compressor sits there in the bottom left corner so that I can keep an eye on it in case something might be wrong when I'm tweaking it during rehearsal. And so I also have my foot pedal here that's usually normally sitting on the ground, which is connected over MIDI through my MacBook Pro. And I've got one switch, and I'll explain to you how this works. One switch assigned here to turn on or off the guitar sounds, and then another few switches to work with the effects. And so you can see everything working together here. I've got the compressor, the amp simulator and cabinet simulator that has its delay turned off, but I'm using the delay of guitar rig. And you can see them all making sounds. And that's just a very short example of this particular setup for that particular song. So this is the guitar part of a song called Innocence. Now, how is this all connected? I'm going to quickly give you an overview of this. It's not going to be an in-depth tutorial, but you can reach out to the community. We've got a Google Plus community that is very active. There is also the forums on Eigenlabs. I've got the EigenZone website with a whole bunch of tutorials on there. There is a lot of things that you can delve into. The documentation of EigenD is quite extensive, and all the agents and their configuration possibilities are all extensively documented, which is kind of special for an open source project. Not many have that. So this is what is called Workbench. It allows you to connect all the agents that participate in this setup together. So each box here with rounded angles is called an agent, and you can already see a neat feature here that is, it can be very difficult to follow the flow of complex setups. So as you click on a particular agent, it's going to highlight it and gray out all the others that it's not immediately connected to. So you can see that I've got my MIDI input being connected to 2 audio units and then to 2 things that are called talkers that I'm going to talk about later. If I click on my audio agent being, so I can edit it, click on its details, you can see that it's using my audio interface here, which is a metric halo audio interface, the sample rate, the buffer size. You can see that that audio agent, which actually brings audio into EigenD, so audio is going to output from that agent, and from channel 1 here, it is connected to the guitar gate, and this gate is connected to this knob on my foot pedal. And I can edit it and in real time see what this knob does. So it turns the volume from 0 to 1. And this is a very nice aspect of EigenD also. Every visual element is in real time connected to the data that is changing, also through another software application that's in there. It's called Stage. I'm not going to detail it further, but it allows you to create high-level widgets to very quickly tweak certain parameters. All this is connected together with a programming language that is built in, which is not a real programming language. It's a linguistic command language that allows you to send messages to everything that is inside your, let's say, virtual studio. So you've got the audio output connected to the guitar, to the agent I called guitar gate, which is basically just a volume agent that allows you to tweak the volume, which is then going into the compressor that is an audio unit. So if I click on it and edit it, you can see that it's a FabFilter Pro C audio unit. And then I've got audio from there going into my first guitar audio unit here, that is S-Gear 2, which is then going straight into the agent that is called the console mixer. It's a 24-channel mixer with pan, effect sense, different controls for volume, headphone output. You can have different pan curves. It is quite comprehensive. This is a complete console mixer. So it's going into the first channel of the console mixer, and at the same time it's sending out a second flow of audio to my second guitar audio unit, which is Guitar Rig. So I can click on it and see that it's Guitar Rig, which is then sending that to the second console mixer channel. And those are mixed together to go out through the main left and right outputs. They are being routed through a trunk here. This is a visual aid that you can lay out yourself, so you can create trunks yourself like this. So I'm going to delete this one. Just like you can create hooks to neatly route your cables around your virtual studio here. So it's routing these cables through the trunk, and you can see if I move over cables, they highlight in red, and you can follow them around. And there's a tooltip that gives you the detailed connection string. So this is connecting the left audio output to audio input 1 on my audio agent, which takes the audio from EigenD and sends it to your audio interface. That's why it's called an input. And it's got these 2 inputs here, which are basically, if you look at the metric halo mixer here, this stereo channel. So you can see my guitar coming in here, and you can see this channel taking the audio from my audio units. And then you can follow here that there is a third channel that I'm using, which is, if I follow it back the opposite way, it is connected to an agent that is called the clicker, which basically just sends out a click sound. And this is also connected to my foot pedal. If I press on this knob on my foot pedal, is going to send out a click through a dedicated channel that I can then send to my earphones without having it going out to the main monitors. Now in this case I sent it to the main monitors, but I can individually tweak this in a real life scenario. I just connected it up like this so that you would hear it. So I think that this flow is pretty self-explanatory. You just step through it and you can see how everything is connected, and then go back to the audio. So what else do we have here? And that is the MIDI control of all this. So since I've got all these audio units and effects working together, I want to be able to control them from a central point, which is going to be my foot pedal here. And so the way that I set up my foot pedal is that it's connected through a USB MIDI with a Mo2 fast lane interface. And each bottom switch of my foot pedal sends out a different program change. So program change 0 is connected to button 1. Program change 1 is connected to button 2. And so this is like offset by 1, basically because they start counting from 0 or for 1. So as I click on these buttons, it's gonna receive MIDI from that MIDI device, which in its raw format is gonna be sent out through the MIDI output port here. And this MIDI is sent straight to the audio units without any processing being done in between. You could process it. There are a bunch of agents that you can add to do processing on them, or even route it through an audio unit that does MIDI processing, or a VST that does MIDI processing. So you can freely combine VSTs and audio units in there also. So you've got this cable that is going through the audio units and sending the program change messages straight to those plugins. So if I go back to them, you can see that as I press on 1, it's gonna stay on Innocence, which is the song that it was set to. But if I press on 2, it is switching to the next program. And everything is configuring itself automatically based on the program changes that are being sent out here. So both S-Gear2 and Guitar Rig understand this, so that they tie the program change number to the actual preset number here. So that is quite nice, because I didn't have to do much to keep that in sync. The program change messages take care of that. Now I've got a whole bunch of other things going on here though, which are the switches here to turn off specific effects inside audio units. Again, these are just being sent straight to the audio units, and through MIDI Learn, I'm able to turn them on and off. So if you look at this switch here, it's gonna change between the wet signal and the dry signal of that particular preset. Since the dry signal is nothing, it's basically gonna be silent when it's not set and turned on if it's set. And this is so this is being done through MIDI Learn here. Similarly, in S-Gear2, I can turn my delay here on and off through this switch, and you can see that it's just basically set up here in the MIDI parameter mapping inside S-Gear. So this is sending out CC80. So nothing specific to EigenD here, except that it's being sent quite visually and easy, in an easy to follow way to those two audio units. Now I've got other things going on here that are specific to EigenD. For example, when I switch to a different program, so let's, I'm gonna start the metronome. Now I'm muted because it's kind of irritating. You can see it clicking along inside Guitar Rig, and as I switch to a different preset, it's gonna switch to a different BPM. So these BPMs are tied to the presets, to the program changes. So the way I did that is by using an output channel here on the MIDI agent that extracts the program changes and converts them as if they would be switches that you press on, as if it would be one long instrument with a single column and all rows that corresponds to the different program changes. So you go 128 rows, you go from 0 to 127. And the way that I do that is by connecting an agent that is called a talker. Why is it called a talker? Because based on the particular key that is being pressed, it's gonna speak to other agents in the system. It's gonna talk to them in a linguistical language that they can understand. And each agent can expose the words that it understands, the vocabulary that it understands. And EigenD is very smart in that way, in that you can also create conversations in which you say, okay, all audio units, I want you all to listen and do that particular thing. So what I did here though is I set up a whole bunch of actions inside this program change talker, and you can see what these linguistical phrases look like. It's a metronome, which is the metronome agent. It's right here, metronome agent. Metronome, hey, I'm talking to you. Tempo to 120 set, so set the tempo to 120. And so the way this is done is basically you've got this single column here, column 1, and then it goes through the rows 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up until 11. For this particular performance setup, I've got 11 songs set up. And each time it's sending out a different tempo to that metronome agent. So it is as if the program change messages would be just one long column of keys. And if you look at the metronome agent here, it's got its tempo input, which is basically what I'm going to change. And as I click on it, you can also see it change, which is in sync with what Guitar Rig was showing. So from that, then the metronome is basically sending out through its outputs clock sync information, so seeing it's running the bars and beats, and it's sending that out to the clicker agent. And the clicker agent, the only thing it does, it sends audio based on a running clock and tempo. So that's done this way. The way that this particular trigger is set up, so I explained how to change a tempo. The way this particular trigger is set up is in a similar way, in that EigenD has a trigger output that extracts the values of CC messages. And it's in a very similar way as what I just explained. You have a very long column, and actually in this case you'll have two. Column 0, so the first column, when the trigger is not set, and column 1, which is the second column, when the trigger is set. So when your CC message is going to be 127, it's going to be column 1. When it's 0, it's going to be column 0. And then based on each CC message, again, there are 128, so you've got 100 from 0 to 127, you've got 128 rows. You can treat that as if a particular key was pressed. And in this case, what I'm going to do here is, when CC message 83, which is, I set up my foot pedal to send out CC message 83 on this particular switch. So when it's pressed, it's going to send out 127. When it's recessed, it's going to send out 0. And then again, it's going to shout, or in this case, politely say, hey. It's not shouting because it's only talking to one particular agent here. But it's going to say to the metronome, hey, stop or start. And finally, I've got this other switch that is set up here to the left, which is tied to MIDI CC 84. It's sending out MIDI CC 84. And again, if it's not set, it's gonna set the volume of the guitar gate agent here to 0. When it's set, it's gonna set that volume to 1. And again, this is just a linguistical phrase. Guitar gate, hey, volume to 0 set. I could say, imagine that I've got a whole bunch of gates set up here. It will understand if you say all gate, hey, and then it will talk to all the gates. Just like you can say all audio units. So this allows you to have a very neat overview of the actions that are going on. They're all centralized inside the talkers. When I had to do that in other environments, it was a real nightmare to set up. And it all comes together as a cohesive whole. So I can do things like this. So let's go to this particular setup here. So this is called You Could Be Mine. Not gonna play the song, but just show the particular sounds here. So this is a dry sound. Now I've got a little slapback delay set up here. And the nice thing here is that in Guitar Rig there are a whole bunch of psychedelic effects that I like to use once in a while, and Guitar Rig is awesome for that, and I only turn that on when I need it. So I can play a chord here and have this shimmer effect going on at the same time. So this is a short overview of my electric guitar setup with EigenD. You can connect any audio device to it, any MIDI device. You can connect, obviously, Eigenharps to it. And I've been working on connecting other devices to it. So the Leap Motion controller is supported. It can even generate through some plugins key presses, mouse movements. Since I'm now working on the instrument also, I'm planning on creating an agent for the instrument that can integrate directly in here. And the nice thing is that it's free and open source, so that we can actually, as a musicians community, work together on getting this performance environment that is both capable of using what we already have, audio and MIDI, but also slot in all of those new, very expressive instruments and devices that send out super high performant and super fast and precise data. They can all get into EigenD, and it's designed to handle that amount of data because the Eigenharp frankly sends out a massive amount of information, and we had to design it to be able to process that. So check it out, reach out to me if you want to talk a little bit further. Jump on the Google Plus community, reach out through the forums, tell us what you think of it. If you want to contribute, there is a whole area to help developers get up and running. If this is not obvious to you how to do certain things, you can always talk to me or some other people in the community. We're about 6 people now actively contributing in various ways. So it is a small but vibrant and very enthusiastic community, and we welcome you to be part of it. Have fun. Bye.